When Spanish conquistadors first arrived in the lands of modern-day Peru, they discovered a fascinating civilization. It was a civilization that had remarkably adapted to the extremely mountainous terrain. Instead of horses and sheep, they had llamas for transport and another smaller species of camelid for wool. This species was called the alpaca. So they did what European imperialists did best back then. They burnt, killed, pillaged, and destroyed. The alpaca was almost made extinct. The Spanish severely underestimated the value of the wool. Rather, they would slay alpacas, use their meat, and replace them with sheep and cattle. Luckily for alpacas, some remaining citizens of the former Incan Empire had managed to escape into the higher mountains of the Andes, taking a small number of alpacas with them. As of today, there are over 30 million alpacas worldwide. Some would say that the story of the alpaca is a story of inspiration or recovery. Personally, I think it's a story of how messed up and selfish humans can be. The origin story of the alpaca dates back to almost 50 million years ago. On the North American continent, an animal family called the Camelidae first appeared. Gradually, two subfamilies, the Camelini and the Lamini, migrated away from North America. The Camelini to Asia, the Middle East and Africa, and the Lamini to South America. It is here, approximately 5 million years ago, where the alpaca's closest descendants, the vicuña, began roaming the land. While the vicuña is commonly believed to be the alpaca's descendant, studies have shown that alpacas are in fact a hybrid of most South American camelid breeds. Roughly 5,000 years ago, the local people groups of the Andes began to domesticate vicuñas, gradually creating a species of alpaca that we know today. Famously, the Incan civilization would use the wool of alpacas to make clothing, blankets, and other textiles. Some stories tell of alpaca fibers being used exclusively by the upper-class Incans due to their quality. What is known for certain was that the alpacas were bred exclusively for their wool, due to their smaller size compared to llamas. As we know, when the Spanish arrived, the alpacas and their vicuña ancestors were culled to near extinction. What is less known is the process of how the alpaca made its resurgence. During the early Industrial Revolution, the British began to experiment with alpaca wool. Initially, it was deemed a fruitless adventure due to the difficulty and excessive costs of weaving. This was until the mid-1830s when a manufacturer by the name of Titus Salt took a keen interest in the wool. He discovered some unused bales of the wool, bought them, and decided to experiment with them. By 1839, he had begun to sell alpaca wool products, and the recovery of the alpaca had begun. So what are alpacas? How can you tell the difference between them and llamas? To answer this question, I visited a family friend of ours called Sandy. She has an alpaca therapy center in the Wide Bay region called Zamsuk Park Alpaca Therapy. You should check it out. She's an amazing person, and I'm glad to have met her. We also conducted extensive research. As elaborated on earlier, alpacas are a species of camelid. They share an ancestry with other species such as the llama, camel, and vicuña. They are characterized by their thick fleece, long skinny legs, short tails, and giraffe-like necks. They have a small head with long pointy ears. But unlike llamas, the edges of their ears don't curve towards their head to look like bananas. Alpacas have beautiful soft noses that feel like giant marshmallows. From personal experience, the softest fleece on an alpaca's body is on the chest, but the rest doesn't come far behind. Alpacas can range between 120 to 225 centimeters long and approximately 90 centimeters tall to the shoulder. However, their long necks make them look much taller. They weigh between 55 to 65 kilograms, unless you feed them like I do, in which they would probably be much fatter. There are two breeds of alpacas, Suris and Wakayas. They are not actually separate subspecies, rather, the only major difference is their fleece. Think of it in the human way, in which some people have straight hair, while others have curly hair. The most common of the two breeds is the Wakaya. 90% of all alpacas are Wakayas. Their fleece is thicker and crimpy like a sheep. Wakayas are the friendliest of the two. On top of that, they are more resistant to diseases and the damages caused by rapid climate change. Most alpaca wool manufacturers opt to use Wakaya wool due to the fact that Wakayas make up such a large majority of alpacas. Their wool comes in 22 different recognized colors, though these colors don't vary significantly, mainly consisting of whites, blacks, and browns. The rarest of the two, the Suri, only consists of between 2 to 10% of the total alpaca population. Unlike Wakayas, who have a crimpy fleece, Suris have a straight, wavy fleece, similar to dreadlocks on a human. It cascades down from the center in a similar fashion to long head hair. The fleece has a softer texture and looks shinier when compared to their Wakaya counterparts. Suri wool has often been described as soft as cashmere, warmer and stronger than wool, and having the lust of silk. On top of this, and the fact that they are such a small percentage of total alpacas, it's no surprise that their fleece is an extremely prized and sought after luxury worldwide. It was so prized that during the pre-Spanish periods, it was even used as a currency. The fibers can grow between 13 to 18 centimeters a year and are excellent for keeping the temperature of the alpaca insulated. This is also a reason for their adaptability to some extreme environments. However, it also easily traps heat during the summer. To counter this, alpaca owners shear them at the beginning of summer. That way, they won't overheat during the summer, but will also regrow their coats to keep them warm during winter. Like Wakayas, they also have 22 colors of wool, yet they have slightly more variety, which includes whites, blacks, fawns, browns, greys, and even some reddish browns. Nevertheless, their most common color is creamy white. Alpacas display many distinctive behavioural patterns, some of which are exclusive to them. Like most livestock, alpacas are herd animals. In fact, there is a common belief that alpacas will die of loneliness if they are separated from the herd for a long time. While this belief is disputed, it is generally agreed upon that alpacas should always be bought in pairs at least. Otherwise, it will negatively affect their health, which could lead to death. As is the case with many other animal species, alpacas adhere to a hierarchical structure. At the top of the herd there is the alpha. Not always is it the case that there is only one alpha. However, the responsibilities of the alpha remain similar. Their job is to watch over the herd while they are vulnerable and alert them to any potential threats. Usually they will scout ahead and ensure that the danger levels are minimal. They may also investigate potential dangers and stand closer to them. This makes alpacas excellent guard animals against foxes and other predators. And then there is the rest of the herd. We'll refer to them as the submissive alpacas. Submissive alpacas tend to be just that, submissive. They are timid and tend to back away when approached. This means that they will not allow you to pat their beautiful soft necks. Alpacas are teasers. However, there is a way in which you can get them to approach you and even let you kiss them on the nose and pat them for a little bit. Can you guess? Yep. Food. Alpacas are herbivores, which means they exclusively eat plants, leaves, and fruit. They are also known for possessing multiple stomachs, which is perfect for a little trick that they have up their sleeves. While all alpacas have the capacity to spit, only the alphas really bother, unless there is a power struggle, which does happen. Alpacas are also capable of kicking, and despite what some alpaca owners say, biting. However, this biting is relatively minor, since they do not have a top set of teeth. Biting is usually a means for a male alpaca to either gain your attention or to assert dominance. Kicking, on the other hand, like spitting, is used primarily as a defensive mechanism. Alpacas kick when they feel threatened from behind. Alpacas make a variety of noises to communicate. These include, but are not limited to, humming, snorting, clucking, screaming, ogling, and the unique alarm call. Humming is their primary means of communication. It can convey many emotions, but more often than not, these emotions are negative. They can range from boredom to nervousness and discomfort. The degree of discomfort is relatively limited, considering some of the other sounds they make to convey said discomfort. But for the most part, if they are humming out of discomfort, it is due to being separated from the herd, or their partner alpaca. They even hum to mourn the death of a beloved one. With all that negativity aside, humming can also convey many positive emotions, such as curiosity and even greetings. It is common for alpacas to simultaneously hum when in a group. Snorting is one of the less common noises alpacas make. It is one of the many defensive noises that they use to tell others to back off. An alpaca that is snorting will usually strike the complementary broadside pose. Snorting is usually complemented by its precursor, grumbling. Grumbling is less aggressive than snorting, and is used to communicate a mild warning. An alpaca usually grumbles while feeding or distracted with other tasks. If you think chickens are the only animals that cluck, you are mistaken. Surprisingly, alpacas cluck too, though it sounds more like a click or a human spit. Like humming, it can convey both positive and negative emotions, but they are more limited. Clucking either means they're curious, intimidated by a neighbour, or even greeting said neighbour. When I first heard the alpaca's alarm call, I was surprised. You would not expect alpacas to be capable of such noises. The alarm call is most often made by the alpha to signify to the rest of the herd that a danger has been spotted in the distance. This could be anything from a dog or a fox to even their own shadow. When an alpaca makes the alarm call, the rest of the herd huddles up to protect each other. If I'm being honest, it kinda sounds like a squeaky toy. So if they're trying to ward off dogs, I don't think that's a sound they'd want to make. If the alarm call was the alpaca's sound for spotting danger, screaming, like for humans, is used to communicate immediate danger. An alpaca will scream if it is being attacked, or if they're being shorn. This is not to be confused with screeching, which is a noise that males make when they're in a fight. Now, onto the erotic part of the video. Ogling. Ogling is a sound that male alpacas will make when mating with female alpacas. Each male has a relatively unique sound for ogling. Although this sound is attractive to female alpacas, it is far from attractive to humans, or any other animals to be honest. Overall, alpacas are cute, soft, well-behaved, friendly for the environment, and they have such soft noses,